It's true, I'm one of the founding members of Peace. I'm also the person who initiated Peace in one way or the other, but I think there are some backbones and brains besides or behind me. So I would want to say it's a collective and group work. And if you ask me how I came about with this initiative, it's because of the experiences that I've had in Cameroon or post-colonial Cameroon the last 8 years. I've been doing research on community issues. I've been dealing on research in conservation issues. I'm actually a forester by profession, and it's come to my knowledge that actually one of the bases of an empowered society is networking. And this we lack also in this community. In these communities. I've also had the possibility to live in Europe and done a lot of political work with other African communities, and it's still the same problem that we have. We are not networked, and we don't even understand what we do each other. It's like here, each person, each group, each organization does its thing, and then life continues. And for me, one of the main challenges was that if we network, if we know what the others are doing, then we are going to become our brothers and sisters keepers. This is the first part. The second part is actually dealing on African issues is one of the main priority of Peace, but also dealing on critical African issues. So it's not like reading and interpreting, but reading and interpreting critically. It's not like doing, it's like critical doing. It's not like thinking, it's like critical thought. So if we talk about, for example, colonialism, we'll try to talk about deconstructing the mentality of Africans who have an inferiority complex, for example, and deconstructing the post-colonial legacy in the form that everything that was taught us during and after the colonial times has been that Africa is at the periphery and the other part, the colonial masters, is at the center. So deconstruction for me also means Afrocentrism, coming closer to Africa, knowing about the African cultures, knowing about the African religions, I would even say, knowing about the African economy, knowing about the African finance, and knowing about the African cosmos. So these are the basic aspects of things that in the beginning we want to bring out to different communities. It might be hard, it might be challenging, but we hope that in future we can even come out with a peace school and a peace advanced institute for African studies. So I think we can't deal on global issues if we don't start locally. So networking would start in Limbe, in Fako, in the southwest, going to the other English-speaking region, the northwest region, and then extending to western and all the other regions of Cameroon. If we can succeed in doing that, it would be a great success. But on the other hand, I think some members of Peace have been working together for a long time. We've gathered a lot of data concerning African cultures, concerning African environmental issues. So part of the task of Peace, or volunteers or whoever wants to be at Peace, would be to assess or to have access to this data, to analyze them, and to bring out very pertinent points that we can use to continue our engagement. So actually we have a background of about 7 years of work that we've already done before even the initiation of Peace. And so if you talk about this in Cameroon, we have something. Networking in other African countries, I think I, for example, have contacts to a lot of different diasporic African organizations that are ready to network with Peace. I mean, we have a structure now. We just need a stronger engagement. We need to engage ourselves the moment people start coming here, not only from here. I mean, one of my visions of Peace is actually to resettle our brothers and sisters that are in diaspora that call themselves African Americans or African Europeans or whatever thing, that are looking for their roots. When they come back here, we have a place for them. We try to make it easier for them to resettle or to reestablish. It's also part of the program of Peace to promote actually African investments in African countries. So if you have African Americans or African Europeans or African Asians that want to trace their roots and come back and even invest in certain areas, we are going to try to look for ways to facilitate this. So we have a long way to go, and I think if we really set our foot well in the functioning of the office, in the functioning of our projects, we are going to have a lot of international African contacts. Okay, so I think it's just a challenge that we need to push forward, and when we get going, things are going to unfold.
That's an interesting one, but I don't know if you would be able to do, I mean, do you have any sponsors, or, I mean, how do you go about
As for now, we don't have any sponsor. As for now, we believe also that about, especially in Cameroon, but it's all over Africa like that, about 80% of non-governmental organizations that deal on African issues get sponsored from outside.
Yes.
Part of the vision of peace is to be self-sustaining, which means we can ask for sponsorship, but we are not promoting anyone. So even if we want to promote someone, we promote African products. Yeah, we promote African sponsorship, we promote African grants if it's there, but if it's not there, we're going to look for mechanism to self-sustain ourselves. And until now, we've been dealing on, I think it's a few members of peace that have contributed something to begin with it, but we hope that in future we're going to have different avenues, different outlets where we're going to cry for financial or technical assistance. It must not always be financial, material assistance also, and all these things we need. And very soon we're going to come up with a campaign for practical assistance to peace.
Okay, that's a take-home message.
Well, I think I've always been saying, it's part of my engagement, my life engagement, that Africa is a rich continent, but the people are poor, which means I don't evaluate poverty in the sense of material wealth. I evaluate poverty in the sense of emancipation, in the sense of empowerment, and these are the richness that we tend to bring as peace or as members of peace to our different communities. What does that mean for me? It means I think we have everything, but someone else has our brain. Okay. The moment we take back our brain, we are going to control our resources, we are going to control everything that belongs to us, and we're even going to get back some things that were taken away from us. Yeah, and for me, my message would be, just like we said in our motto, peace has to do with looking for African solutions for African problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a very strong commitment for myself. This is something that I would want to carry on within peace until my death.